So it's the very first day of Sculptember, fire up ZBrush, and bam. I don't know if it came out on September 1st, but there's a brand new update to ZBrush 2018, which I have barely, if at all, used anyway. So I guess it all kind of worked out, and for the best that I didn't, start to get back in things. I guess I can start fresh with this brand new update. So I decided that I would start with something very simple, something that I thought I would feel comfortable with, which was just making a really simple weapon, and primarily focusing on the use of the Z Modeler tool and just using really basic primitive shapes. However, as I started to do this, I realized that there was actually quite a bit of I knew what I needed to do, but there was a lot that I had forgotten of exactly where it is, and I'm not sure if some of that I think is because it's moved around, but other times I think it's because I just forgot. So, but the good thing is that I did retain a lot of the knowledge that I had from when I sculpted a lot with ZBrush back about a year ago, maybe a little more than a year. However, there's definitely some new tools, and I definitely needed to take a lot of time to refresh. So that very first night, didn't get a lot done. It was mostly just refreshing my memory about where the different menus are and what they did, and then learning how to use the new gizmo tool, which is the new way that ZBrush uses to kind of manipulate objects with. It does seem like a pretty cool tool. Not bad at all, but very different from what I was used to, and at least initially I couldn't remember how to turn it off and turn the transpose tool back on, so I was a bit limited, but it did force me to kind of dive in a bit and understand how it works a little more. I need to go back and refresh a little bit more on some things. I figured out how to do certain parts, but then others I couldn't, and so ended up having to look at some videos. Well, I remembered I have this template file, so I went ahead and kind of scrapped what I did before. Just kind of figured it was more of a learning day, and I opened up this base file, which has two kind of tabs in them, like miniature tabs. One is 20 millimeters long, and I think 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters, and the other one I believe is 50 millimeters tall. And I use that as a way that I can gauge the size of things when you're sculpting. That's incredibly crucial and imperative when you're sculpting digitally, is to have some way to gauge the size of things, because it's very easy to lose sight of how small and fine you're making your sculpture when you're in the computer, because it's gonna typically be it could be 10 times the size that it would be in final production, and it's just too easy to lose sight of it and trick yourself. Even when you have a lot of practice, you can still make that mistake. So still here, using a lot of basic primitive shapes. Had to remember how to kind of initialize things and deform them. But I'm starting to get the hang of it. This is, let's see, Saturday. This is Sunday right now that we're watching. And I was starting to get the hang of things a little bit again. I was remembering how I used to, select certain points and edges, be able to manipulate them. But then I had to go back and watch some videos on how to manage the insert meshes a little bit more. So I wanted to put these balls on here for the mace, kind of like a cartoony spiked mace, and didn't want to have to manually move everything in. I wanted to make sure it was all set to a really consistent depth and size. So I found out how to do that. I think I'm going to go back on this mace. I was trying, when I drew it, I did a sketch of all these weapons I need to sculpt, and I was kind of drew it a little off kiltered and everything, but I don't know if that quite works, so I might make it a little bit more mundane when I go back in. Oh man, well, it appears that I lost my last recording where I kind of defined and did a little more work with the handle, so I'll have to continue on that later and show it in a later video, but I'm going to take a picture of it and post it on Instagram so you can see it there. But that about wraps it up for this kind of short first week for Sculptember, just the first 3 days. So thanks for watching, and remember, keep sculpting.